So my navigation tools in Shapr3D are really quite easy and simple to use, fairly intuitive, and perhaps similar to a lot of other 3D apps you may have used. So, for example, to zoom in or out on a design, I can just use my two fingers and pinch in or out to zoom in or zoom out on my design. If I'd like to rotate about my design, I can just use a single finger and tap down with my finger and move my finger about the screen to rotate, as we can see. And the important bit here is that where I tap my finger will actually make a difference. So that becomes my pivot point that I'm rotating about. So if I tap near the center of my object here, we can see I'm rotating about that center point. Whereas if I tap way over to the right, for example, I'm rotating about that pivot point now. Finally, I also have the ability to pan my view, and so panning is just moving my view in any direction without changing the zoom or the rotation. And to do that, I just press down with two fingers on my screen again, but instead of pinching in or pinching out like I did to zoom, I can just move my two fingers, say to the left, to pan to the left, or to the right, or up or down. Also notice I can use all of these commands together, of course, as well. So for example, I can pan a little bit and zoom in a little bit at the same time. And really just play around with these navigation tools, have fun with them, and you'll really get the hang of it within a few seconds. Finally, I have a few more options. In my top right-hand corner, I have my view cube or orientation cube there. And if I tap on that view cube there with either my finger or my pencil, I get a few additional options. So I have a number of views here. So those are my standard design views. For example, I can jump to a top view, and I'm specifically at a top view, bottom view, front view, and so on. And what's also very handy is the ability to do a quick and easy zoom to fit, isometric or 3D view. And I could do that with just a double tap on that view cube. And if I just do a quick double tap there, I can see I jump back to that 3D view, and it's fit nicely on my design space there. So for example, if for whatever reason I was way zoomed out and kind of in a bad space here for my design, to do a quick zoom to fit, I could just do that quick double tap on the view cube, and again it zooms right into a nice 3D view there. If again we tap once on that view cube or orientation cube, we also have a few additional options. If I go to Appearance, I can change my field of view, whether I prefer orthographic view or perspective views. And I can switch from one to the other with just the slider there. And this is really just going to be based on your own personal design preference. If you'd prefer more orthographic views or more perspective views here, or somewhere in the middle. We also have the ability to show hidden edges and of course hide hidden edges, and also the ability to allow camera rotation. So if I turn camera rotation on here just to take a look, now I can actually rotate my camera using two fingers. So again, this will all come down to more of a personal design preference. If you'd like that additional rotation of camera available to you with your two-finger rotation, or just the same, we can turn that off. And now notice I no longer have the ability to rotate with my two fingers there. I also have the ability to change my units within my view cube here. So of course, if I'm designing in inches or millimeters, I can make that change very easily. Centimeters, meters, feet, and so on here. I also have the ability to lock my grid size. So notice if I'm in inches here, as I zoom in or out, I can see my grid size changing from 10 inches, or if I zoom in, 5 inch, 1 inch, and so on. If I'd like to change that, again, I can just say lock grid size at 1 inch, or whatever the current grid may be. And now, if I were to zoom in or out, notice it's staying at that locked 1 inch grid size. I also have the ability to change my dimensioning style if I'd like it to be fractional versus decimal, and same idea with the degrees. So now that we have a good understanding of the navigation tools within Shapr3D, in the next few lessons we'll learn how to start our very first sketches.